Welcome to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring the top 8 players around the world. With 10,000 in prize money and regional pride on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night! Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Fight Night here at ESGN TV for Hearthstone. Currently, Team Doggy House is up 1-0 over Team Other Team, no name yet, and let's find out how they got here. We have our first match, Trump versus Nimsh. Trump probably has no suspicions. And yeah, putting out the Sylvanas is the sealing fate. Nimsh, probably, yep, there it is, the well played. Nimsh will win 3-0 over Trump.
He's Nimshing it up. Yeah. So that is a very strong victory for Nimsh. Not dropping a single game, not having to show off his other 2 decks.
It's time to meet our players. From Team Doggy House, the BlizzCon 2013 champion, Artosis. The guy who let all the doggies out, Ek0p. His top deck skills are top-notch, Nimsh. And the young prodigy, Nyx. From Team Other Team, no name yet, the strategist, Monk. The Stone Cold Killer, Strife Crow. The Mayor of Valuetown, Trump. And the King of Dreams, Kripparrian. As we get ready for our second match, let's once again review the format for tonight's Fight Night.
Our Hearthstone Fight Night will consist of a 4v4 team battle. Both players will bring 3 different classes. The person who beats his opponent's 3 decks wins a point for the team, some personal cash, and team bonus money, which ranges from 250 to 5,000. The team that can clean sweep their opponents, that means not dropping a single game in any series, will also get a bonus 5,000 in their pockets. If the series ends prematurely, we have some bonus money rounds. Here's the catch. We only have 4 players, so the 5th match will have a secret ace player that will be revealed when the time comes. Team captains will choose their opponents randomly by spinning our ESGN wheel. Once someone has played, they will be ineligible until the ace match.
Now that you're up to speed, let's throw it over to the team captains to find out which of the remaining 6 players will face off in this edition of Fight Night. And now look, I'm all the way over here at the wheel with Monk, the team captain of Team Other Team, no name yet. Monk, you're gonna be the one choosing your opponent. It's time to spin. Who's it gonna be? Gotta stop eventually. Ek0p! It is! All right. So Ek0p's gonna be the first player. All right, so we know our first player is Ek0p, Artosis from Team Doggy House. Go ahead and take her for a spin. Close. I sense a Monk. And it will be the team captain of the opposite team will be facing off against Ek0p. Thank you very much, Artosis.
I guess my favorite class is Druid. Before the first big patch, I played Druid and I did absurdly well with it. And I guess I'm more of a safe player, so I like having all these really safe and big cards. I want to take it to the late game if possible, and I want to dominate there. And Druid has a lot of tools for that to happen.
Oh no, I'd play any style. I can adapt. I play aggressive decks. I play control decks. The only thing that matters to me is that I personally like the way the deck plays out. If I don't like it, I just discard it and just play something else. I'm not gonna play a deck that I don't feel comfortable with.
Hey everybody, I'm joined on the desk with Krip. How you doing, man? How you enjoying the event so far?
Doing pretty well. Kind of excited to get ready to play myself, but even more excited to see what's about to go down.
Awesome. It's you've been in the casting position before, but this is the first time kind of doing it in a professional desk setting. What's it like casting as opposed to playing?
Casting is really cool. You see the end result of all the time that people invest into, grinding it out and getting the best possible deck they can out of constructed. And the variety aspect that you see casting is a lot more enjoyable than grinding it out and doing all the hard work.
It's a fun change of pace once in a while.
Absolutely.
To be able to see it from both sides. Cool. So again, if you guys are tuning in for the first time to Fight Night, we have a best of 5 BlizzCon style Great, why don't you explain that a little bit for our viewers?
So the BlizzCon style is each player comes to the table with 3 decks. You have to play all 3, and that's different from other formats where it's best out of 3 because you can't have like a super counter deck. It kind of has to be like a well-rounded deck in every time. And very often in this format, you're going to see drawn-out games, pretty epic games, and hopefully that's what'll happen today.
Yeah, well, we do have a cool matchup. We have Monk versus Ek0p. Monk has chosen to play Druid as his first class. Ek0p is going for a Shaman deck. Now, Ek0p, you're mentioning to me right before the cast is about to start, you're saying it might not look good for Monk. Druid, playing a slow Druid deck might have trouble with a control Shaman.
Right. So what tends to kill Druid is the really big creatures, because if you want to play control Druid, generally you want to have some answers to the big stuff. And that is usually going to come from running your big creatures into their big creatures. So it's not very efficient. Whereas from the shoes of the Shaman, they cast the biggest thing in their deck, you just hex it. So there's a tempo advantage to the Shaman, and I think it'll be a pretty drawn-out game, but I think the Druid is the underdog. And from the perspective of my team, I think this was a pretty poor matchup for the Druid.
Well, Monk will have a certain big challenge, as well as playing not only the class, but the player, because Ek0p has a pretty big history in CCGs. People know him to be an arena streamer, but he also has some WoW TCG experience. Do you have any predictions?
I'm going to root for the Druid just because it's on my team, but probably this match favors the Shaman, just by a little bit.
We'll see if Monk can do it, because they need it. Team Doghouse is up 1-0 over their opponents. Let's get into game number 1 and get into this best-of-5 series.
We're gonna beat them. That's no question asked. I mean, they have to get pretty lucky to beat us.
From an outside perspective, I'd have to say that the Euro team is favored, but we do have some secret things planned, so you should watch out.
All right, getting into game number 1 between Monk and Ek0p. Let's look at the opening hands.
Funny enough, I don't think the opening hands are as important in this matchup as they are in a lot of others, as both players are playing decks that favor the endgame.
Ooh, 2 fire elementals immediately on the first hand. Yeah, don't want that, but we do see a Stormforge Axe for Ek0p, and Monk gets a pretty decent starting hand. Novice Engineer is always really nice.
Both the players have extreme creature control in their opening hand, but no actual creatures.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of nothingness for a lot of the first few turns here, I believe.
Yeah, so with that, we can see Monk will probably drop a coin Novice as a first turn. Or wait, is he really going to end his turn?
Yeah, you're playing endgame. When you run into a Shaman, the reason you'd play a Shaman right now is because, the big creatures are efficient.
Yeah.
And when they pop up a big creature, you need a response immediately. And the coin will often give you that advantage again.
Well, just like you were mentioning, Ek0p, pretty passive. We see a Searing Totem.
That thing's going to die.
Yeah, very quickly. Eventually, but we have, for now, Monk's just going to drop the Novice Engineer and just build up his hand. And taking a look at the 2 decks, seems like they will have a lot of late game power matching up, especially considering after about the 5 drops, it starts getting pretty heavy hitting.
Yeah, but you really kind of have to hit like critical mass because, the Druid has okay single target removal, especially with Monk having the Wraths in the deck. He can probably, edge out a little bit. He's actually thinking probably about hitting Wrath for 1 because he realizes against the Shaman, most of the stuff's going to be late game, and he just needs to draw bigger creatures or things like Swipe to deal with them.
Yeah, and filling his hand with more useful things later on is pretty good. As the Wrath will hit, and Monk will end his turn, drawing a Sun Fury Protector. Now, I did see Monk experimenting with Ancient Watcher and Druid, and looking at the deck list, he's putting it in there as well.
Yep.
What do you think about that dynamic?
Ancient Watcher is really good. When you run the double Argus, the double Sun Fury Protector as he is, you're going to see the Ancient Watcher, just sit on the board. If the opponent's playing aggro, he's going to completely ignore it. But then when you give it Taunt, he's going to have suddenly a pretty big problem. So it's kind of like a ramp-up defense that goes unnoticed, which is really good. And there's really no other card like it. It's pretty good and useful. Pretty good in Druid because often when you have Swipe or you have a couple other cards, you don't mind if they fill their board with junk creatures.
Ooh, Monk's gonna use his second Wrath, or he's thinking about it, on the Harvest Golem and forcing him to use his Death Rattle, and then potentially coining and assassinating it immediately.
Yep. He may be overreacting here. As I mentioned, the coin is a pretty big part. He may be doing the play just because he drew into Innervate. So,
he has that insurance.
Yeah, there's a little bit of insurance there. The problem with the Druid is if the opponent drops like an Earth Elemental on 5, you're really not going to have an answer on 5. Fortunately for Monk, that's not the case, not yet. We've yet to see what cards are going to come up. But you can see all these control cards in the Shaman's hand are absolutely worthless. Like Stormforge Axing is as bad as the Druid hero ability. It's a -2 for the opponent, where with the Druid it's a +1 for you, -1 for the opponent. So you're really doing nothing.
Doing it early sometimes can cost you some really important early mid-game drops as well. Especially if you, like, for example, you do it now, you can't drop the Sylvanas, so Ek0p's really...
On the flip side, all these cards are extremely effective if the opponent is running, a bunch of small creatures.
It's interesting because we do give the players the option to debate, and you were part of that discussion. Ek0p is going to go for the face for 2 damage, by the way. What was the rationale behind picking the Druid? Was it anticipation of the mage?
Well, we discussed it, and we have some kind of strategy related to that. Based around that some decks are almost certain hard counters to other decks, and he felt, along with the rest of our team, felt that the Druid isn't particularly good against anything. So as a result, you should just throw it out there,
right, and
see what happens.
Feel it out.
Yeah. So while he is the underdog here, as far as the set of games is going to go, that's going to be a different story.
Well, now we have Ek0p has a few options under his belt. Going to take out the Novice Engineer, can drop this Sun Cleric and the
I don't know if he will
Squire.
here. He might value his Lightning Totem, but the Argent Squire is quite useful when you pump it up. And that's probably what he's thinking right now. So he does decide to go for the Totem. And then the Argent Squire. That's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the spell power totem is extremely useful, but he doesn't need it in any near-time future.
I mean, the only creatures that we've seen from the Druid are Novice Engineers up to this point.
Yeah. So I guess he can completely deduce, well, he's afraid of what's going to happen next, but still no real answers. He could innervate and drop one of the Ancients of War, Ancients of Lore. What would you do in this scenario?
Well, the Druid is very complex. It looks like he may gamble an innervate play. The problem with that is he hasn't tested his opponent for Hex. Now, I don't believe Hex is in the Shaman's hand, but without knowing, this is more or less of a desperate move. And if Ek0p is really paying close attention to the nuances going on, he may realize that his opponent doesn't have much and may start to go all in.
Right. So then what would you do? Would you drop the Keeper of the Grove, try to fight back for some more board control, maybe wipe something off?
I don't know. I believe that he's considering the Ancient of War here. Yeah. I think the Lore may have been a decent option as well. 5/5 is still a pretty good threat. You'll at least trade for the Shattered Sun. You get 2 cards, so pays for one of the innervates, takes out the Shattered Sun, takes out a weapon charge, does damage. So you're getting even value with that. Now, he didn't draw into Hex, so he's actually fine, but he does have the Sylvanas, so he's going to think he's fine with the Sylvanas, but we know that's not really the case. The Druid does have the Silence in his card, the Keeper of the Grove, so we may see a Sylvanas play here because he can't really deal 10 damage.
He could if he puts a Rock Biter on a minion, and then he can hit with everything.
It's really inefficient.
Yeah, you're trading not even 4 for 1, a little bit more, 5, because you count the card.
Right.
And taking damage, so it's really tough. Really hard to do that.
Ek0p is actually not in a great spot anymore because he's like, here's Sylvanas, I don't have a Hex, play something else kind of situation. So, we'll see. But we're absolutely going to see a Silence come from the Druid side on Sylvanas, and my guess is that she's going to die.
So then drop the Keeper.
The issue here is if he had the coin, he could Keeper and heal the Giant after killing Sylvanas.
Ah, yeah.
Because he's not going to need to heal against the Shaman. He's going to need to heal a minion with it to have value out of that card. And this is going to be a battle of value essentially. So the fact that he doesn't have the coin is going to cause his Ancient of War to die at the end of this turn, which is a bit unfortunate, but I think he's still in an alright spot, having the card advantage.
Yeah, and he's going to get some trades, which is still really good, so good mid-game start for Monk thus far. But again, I'm still looking down the deck list of Ek0p, and there's still plenty of threats that he would have to deal with.
The main one is Ragnaros. You can see in the Druid's hand he has Naturalize. Naturalize is often strictly a card to deal with that exact option. So if we do see Naturalize played, and it's not on Ragnaros, at that point, if the game is not going to end shortly afterwards, you can often expect the game to end in the Shaman's favor.
Yeah, and I mean, Naturalize is also usually a finisher card. You can also remove taunts to kind of get through stuff as well. But we'll see that come into play a little bit later. EK0p draws the Novice Engineer for turn 7. See what he can.
It's always a good play.
Yeah. That's kind of what a Shrifeko was telling me. He was saying.
Put some junk out there.
Is good.
Yeah. It's especially good when you're running the Shadow Sun Clerics. 1/2 is not very threatening at all, but a 2/3 that can kill something. Often stay alive as well.
So we do see the draw for Ragnaros, so he has that lined up for round 8. Excellent.
He was probably thinking of doing the lightning stuff. He still might, but knowing that he drew Ragnaros, he's essentially giving up the turn 8 Rag play by doing this move.
Yeah, he's going to go overloaded for 2, but he can trade everything now while still having a little bit more.
He may consider doing a lightning storm here. I mean, you get 2 creatures. It's not really that bad. Not anymore after toteming, of course, but it looks like he doesn't mind taking the damage. Shouldn't be much of a problem, but we'll see. The Druid does have a lot of surprise finishers with Druid of the Claws being played in charge mode and with the swipes, and with a few other cards that, Claw helps a little bit, stuff like that. Usually it's not played that way, but if your opponent gets low enough, you'll see that sudden change in tempo of the game.
And then Druid can take backboard control really easily.
Oh, at that point, you just waste everything. Like, he's got 2 Druid's Claws and a swipe right now, so he's got 12 direct. So if his opponent gets greedy enough with the axe, it may actually have great effect.
So from this position with 7 mana, there's a couple of plays you can make. You can play Druid of the Claw. You can play the Ancient of Lore and draw more cards.
He really doesn't need to draw cards. It's going to take many turns for him to play the cards that he currently has in his hand, and he's obviously drawing at least 1 a turn, and it's pretty likely that even draw into stuff like Novice Engineer himself as he's turning out.
So it seems like Druid is just the best play overall, because otherwise there's nothing else really to do. I mean, swiping wouldn't really do anything, they just heal up. And so with that, Monk should eventually come to that conclusion. Now,
Ancient of Lore is not a bad play, just because there's no huge threats on the board. And having the Druid of the Claw to charge is pretty good. He's thinking of swipe, and it's not terrible value, but the problem with swipe is you might actually need it for a real creature.
Yeah, setting up.
Apparently he decides against it. Decides to use it right away.
Okay. And then just gonna pass the turn.
Right. The problem with this play is that the Novice Engineer is gonna get healed to full from the heal totem, and the heal totem as well is gonna heal itself. So he essentially traded the swipe for the.
Oh man.
Yeah, that is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, perfect mana for the turn, and he's gonna be able to hit Monk very hard.
And we're gonna see the game right here pretty much decide itself. If he decides to go for a naturalized play, he is going to lose directly to Ragnaros.
You're gonna draw 2 cards.
Yeah, and that means that he's gonna use naturalized, which is really bad.
Bad for Monk, you're saying?
Yes, because the opponent has Rag in his hand. He's not going to play it next turn, but he's going to play the turn after. He's going to be overloaded for 3, as you can see he has 6 mana. But that is still a really, really bad spot for Monk. I don't think most people run more than 1 naturalized, and I think that's the case in this one. So 1 naturalized, no other way to deal with a huge creature, and Ragnaros is the kind of card that if it's on board for more than 1 turn, you're kind of done.
One of the cards that was drawn is an Ek0p the Windlord, often joked as, the lose lord, because people say it's just every time you play you're just going to lose, but in some cases EK0p's going to be able to use it really well.
He has lethal next turn, and it's going to be one of the most surprise plays that you're going to see. So
it's the Rock Biter.
Right. So he can pump it up to 9, and that effectively gets doubled by the Wind Fury, so he can do 18 direct plus the 2 from the weapon, which I'm sure he's going to attack through next turn.
It's insane finishing potential, and Monk probably has no idea it's coming.
No, there's no way to really tell. But most likely we'll see a taunt creature played, as those are the only plays that are possible from Monk.
But I mean, he might also. Oh yeah, he does have Defender of Argus, but we'll see what Monk chooses to do. 1 misstep could cost him the game, but he doesn't know that.
I don't think he's going to lose to the Windlord next turn, but I don't believe he's going to win, as even if he kills Ragnaros, it's going to be too costly for him to be able to win the game after that point. I think Ragnaros is really the turning point. But of course, I mean, he might just get greedy and flood the board, though I feel that's very, very unlikely right now. I think we're going to see several taunts come up from this turn.
Depends. You know, he might choose the charge if he feels gung-ho. Oh no! If
man.
he chooses the charge, if he chooses it, the cat form, he gives him the 4/4 with charge on the board. But there's no way to answer the Alakir, and with that, I think EK0p already knows.
he can Argus, but we don't know if he will. Yeah, he does.
Okay. I read the mana counts wrong. You're right. Okay, so with that, he's going to be able to set up some board presence.
Still not great, as Alakir can take those both out. Still not bad, though. I believe... I actually don't know the stats on Alakir. It's 3 attack. It's a 3/5?
Yeah.
Okay, well... If
I know, because I've tried to make it work so many times that it just wasn't working
I just saw the card and gave up, you know? But it looks like he can clear the board with it, but it's going to cause his creature to die if it's only 5 toughness. I was a bit hopeful that it's maybe 6, and maybe he can do a pretty cool play with it. But it really proves how crappy that card is right now.
I've tried using it with stuff like Ancestral Spirit, with Flame Tongue. It just wasn't working out no matter how much I tried. But, I mean, keeping it as kind of a finisher, similar to Leroy Jenkins, maybe isn't the worst thing.
Probably a Rockbiter here just to kill off one of the creatures, so Rag is quite likely to stay alive. So right now, we're going to have a very big shift in the game, because if Rag hits the opponent, then it sets up a play to kill with Alakir. And if Rag hits a creature, then it sets up the problem where the opponent probably doesn't have enough damage.
Oh, wow. Bypassing everything and going straight for the face.
Monk is probably quite happy with that result, but he obviously has no knowledge of the Alakir even being used these days. So what's going to happen here is he's going to lose a bunch of creatures. He is not that likely to heal, just because 9 life against that board is not particularly threatening in general. And
really, even if you feel like you're risking the chance of like a Lightning Bolt or something with it?
Yeah, he hasn't seen Lightning Bolt. He hasn't seen Lava Burst. He's played creatures and he's seen his opponent attack into them. So, I mean, it's difficult to see how he sees it.
Yeah, I mean, within dangers, it's all about what he's weighing. But at the same time, if he can put up powerful taunts, he might feel like he doesn't need to. But it all depends actually on what Ragnaros chooses to hit. If Monk.
Oh no, Ragnaros is dead this turn. If Ragnaros doesn't die this turn, the game is over just by itself.
Yeah.
So Ragnaros is going to die one way this turn, is the way you have to look at it.
Okay.
So how is Ragnaros going to die? That's the question right now. Most likely he's going to throw his 2 creatures at it, but he has some very risky options with like claws and healing touches and stuff like that. He also has options because he can put charge on his Druid of the Claw, and he can pump him up a little bit with Defender of Argus. So there's a lot of options, but I think the clear one is just to sack the 2 creatures you have in it.
Yeah, and that way he can have more options. And again, the season's back the board control with that regards. Thinking about Sylvanas, even though there's really nothing, at least it just puts some kind of pressure on your opponent to be careful with it. But again, I don't think Ek0p showed a Hex either.
Well, he didn't have a Hex when it was tested for the few creatures back, but that was like 3 turns ago or so.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that he has a Hex. I don't believe he does, but we're getting into about half the death point right now.
So it's still a very big possibility.
Every turn he's got a decent chance on drawing the Hex.
And so with that, we see EK0p finally has his turn again with 1 Argent Squire untouched, and he does have an Earth Elemental, and Alakir as the heavy hitters.
He's probably going to save the 1 Rockbiter with the Alakir, just to take out the board. Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, if he gets a good roll,
this is a little bit sketchy here.
Wow. No, he doesn't get it.
Nope.
Either one. Both minions survive. Wow.
That was a very risky play.
Yeah.
And I don't feel he needed to take that risk.
But maybe you could have also probably fished for a Spell Power Totem, but he wanted probably to drop the Earth Elemental. But now he loses the Argent Squire, and that should give the Druid enough.
The main problem is that he loses that crazy surprise burst from Alakir.
Yeah.
And he's gonna have to win more conventionally, which may be a bit more difficult now that Rag didn't actually cost them that much. We'll see.
Oh, and a big Ragnaros drop for Monk.
This is actually huge, not only because it's Rag, but because he can give Rag taunt.
Yeah, with the Sun Fury Protector.
Right.
Wow.
But there are even other options. He can give taunt to the Squire, so Rag gets protected by it.
And you can't attack him.
Most likely we won't see that. Being at 11 life is not really that comfortable with an Earth Elemental on the ground.
Yeah, and 1/1 taunt Argent Squire with no Divine Shield ain't stopping anything.
Yeah. So he decided. Oh, he's actually thinking of not
maybe just
giving it taunt.
Ragnaros. But what good did that do? I mean,
well,
protecting
I don't-
Argent Squire.
I don't think there's much harm. It could be just that he doesn't have that many creatures in his deck, and he wants to protect the few that he has. That depends what he does here.
Oh man, it doesn't
Okay.
hit the Earth Elemental.
That's not terrible. Oh, that's terrible though.
No, but he doesn't have that much mana to play with. He only has 5, so he can taunt.
Well,
attack
it's getting hexed. I mean, this is the biggest no-brainer ever. But he's not going to be able to go through Ragnaros. So right now he doesn't lose to a lot of cards, but being at 6 life is not really that great of a spot.
Okay, well, Monk.
Oh, and he
still-
just won.
Yeah, wow,
That is
he just
game.
drew the Keeper of the Groves. So now he
Silence
can
into
silence.
charge.
Wow, and that's gonna be it. Monk should be able to finish everything off as the final cards are playing in combination. And Monk, oh, he's throwing the well played right before it.
Yep.
Game number 1 goes to Monk from the other team, no name yet.
Very good. I'm
Yeah.
very impressed you're nailing that now. That is actually...
I'm trying to abbreviate in my head, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's like TOTNY.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a curveball.
Yeah. But in the end, I really think Monk played really well. What are your thoughts on the match?
I think both players played really well. I think Ek0p could have gone for a much more aggressive play with the Alec here. It would have ended differently. I don't know if it would have ended any better. He got pretty decent luck on the big creatures, but he got pretty bad luck on the Hex, just drawn 1 near the end. He had to waste a lot of cards as the turns progressed. So, you know, Monk got a little bit lucky in my opinion, but
Yeah.
not too bad.
I think it's a calculated risk that he was trying to take in those scenarios.
Right. There's a lot of randomness when you play cards like Ragnaros, and it came out on both sides. And with the huge swings from the big creatures and the Hex and all that, you know, it just ended up that the swing just ended the game.
So you know what that win, you know what that means, EK0p, is that there's no sweep bonus potential for Team Doggy House. You guys at least stopped them from winning a potential 5,000.
I don't feel much remorse for this denial.
Well, at least your team managed to stop them from being able to get that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we do have 2 minutes on the clock for the players to choose their next class. Well, for EK0p to choose his next class. And Monk will have to keep playing Druid. Welcome to game number 2, everybody. Ek0p has chosen to go for Mage. And he has some really interesting cards that I'm sure EK0p would like to talk about.
Well, it's the giant mage, and if you play Hearthstone, you've probably played against this deck a lot recently. There are a few interesting things in the fact that the main win condition of this deck is you do a lot of damage to your opponent, and to do that, you get a huge head start from the giants, and we see that there's only one mountain giant, which is a bit unconventional, and instead we see the Archmage Antonidas, which sets up kind of a different type of win condition.
Yeah.
Where if that one card doesn't get controlled, oh, and there he is.
He even kept it. He had it in his starting hand.
Wow.
He chose not to swap it out instead.
That is a pretty good play in my opinion, because you know, if you can set up Archmage with perhaps Frost Nova, which I'm sure in here. I mean, first
You
card.
can set up for a fireball and potentially just keep the never-ending stream of fireballs.
Right, so you just have to protect that card, and he knows that a Druid can't do 7 direct that easily. You know, he was able to in the last game against the Shaman, but I think he got a little bit lucky in a lot of those matchups.
Well, game 1's in the history books, so whether it's luck or not. Currently Monk's up 1-0. He did innervate and put out a Harvest Golem and a Novice Engineer, putting out a few damage.
Yep.
And now, a second Power Blast from EK0p, so he is well set for his late game if he can get there.
Yeah, when it comes to this type of mage deck, if you get the right cards, you're almost unstoppable. Right now, I don't believe I saw Ice Block in his hand, and when we go to it again, I'll verify my opinion. So what can happen is you might just die before you kill your opponent.
Yep.
Oh,
he
he
does have
actually
Ice
just
Block.
drew it.
Wow. So he has a lot of.
He has pretty much all the
conditions
pieces.
set. Yeah. Even a Frost Nova.
The Frost Nova Doomsayer combo.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very effective, as it's very difficult for a player to do 7 damage directly to a creature when his entire board is frozen from the turn before.
Yeah. It is one of these rare instances where if you somehow naturalize your opponent who has 10 cards, it won't really have an effect.
Funny you should say that. What Naturalize does is actually screw up the combo of the mage, but because he has all the pieces in his hand already, Naturalize will just be like a pretty useful card in general, but nothing super game-changing, I don't believe.
Well, in this scenario, there's a lot of options for Ek0p to choose from.
Oh, it's going to be every turn.
Order.
Yeah. I mean, when you have 10 cards, you can do whatever you want, basically.
Now he does have a polymorph also into his mage deck, something that we've been seeing mages kind of phase out because they don't really need it per se. But I like seeing it still because you never know what to expect.
Well, it's true. It's just that usually polymorph you're gonna have to use it on a creature that's much bigger than the cost of polymorph, and on a lot of decks leading up perhaps the last week or so.
Oh no, hands too full.
Yep, there it goes.
First world Hearthstone problems.
Well, it's pretty good value. You kill a creature, you deny the card draw of the next turn.
It was an arcane intellect though, so
yeah, he has both ice
worry.
blocks in his hand.
Yeah. Wow.
This game may actually be over already just because of the card quality in Ek0p's hand.
Yeah, you're gonna drop the Doomsayer and put on pressure that regard. At least draw damage that way.
Yeah, I don't really know about that play. I mean, it just dies. This is pretty much like gain 7 life, which is all right, I guess.
2 mana for 7 life.
Yeah.
So Monk can even improve his board position more by dropping Sylvanas. But again, you want to be really careful not to overload the board too much, because then you start running out of options to answer.
Probably what's going through his head is he can do a lot of burst damage with the swipes, the claws, and what he knows to play around is the Molten Giants. The problem is often you'll get the mage very low, but you won't kill him, and then he'll keep his game up by extending his life with Ice Block. And while this is going on, because he has low life, the Molten Giants that are drawn will be free. So the tempo change becomes so huge at that point that you can just overwhelm your opponent, and he's gonna try to kill the mage in a very short amount of turns when he starts going below 20 life. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into how he can play out his turn. The problem is that next turn we'll be seeing, actually maybe not next turn, probably what we're going to see is...
Interesting.
Right. Kill one of the creatures, take a little less damage. I think what we're going to see is Archmage Antonidas coin Frost Nova on 8.
Right, so that way he gets a fireball.
He gets 2 fireballs.
Yeah,
he gets 1 from the coin, he gets 1 from the Frost Nova.
Yeah, and combine that with his second Ice Block and 2 Pyroblasts. Wow, that sounds extremely devastating. Monk's starting to put out a lot of damage, giving him 14.
14 is a decent number. This is where a giant costs 4 mana, so his opponent can cast a giant, but he won't really be doing anything else to change the board. And because of that, Sylvanas can run into the giant.
Yep.
So what's going through his mind is probably, I'm in a pretty good spot. I can burn him down. And Monk is probably feeling quite confident. I certainly would never expect my opponent to have such high card quality.
Yeah, especially in combination, what's going to happen on turn 8. Still 6 damage left on the board. Well, 7 if you count the hero power. But hypothetically, if Monk just threw everything, he could trigger the secrets this turn. If he wants to.
One thing is, his life is getting dangerously low, just considering that he has that many swipes and claws.
Yeah.
And with the mage, while the creature control is very good, it's very difficult to freeze an opponent. The only two ways that I know of, one uses spell, but in his deck he doesn't have Ice Lances, so the spell that we're looking at is Frost Bolt.
Water Elemental.
Right, so he doesn't have the Water Elemental, which is the creature-based freeze, and he only has the Frost Bolt. So if he can get, if Monk can get his opponent down to 1 life and proc the Ice Block, then it should just be a matter of a few turns to finish him off.
Because he can get him to 2 health. If you combine
this is what he's counting right now.
14.
He wants to get him as low as possible.
Yeah, so he can get him to 2 health, the lowest I can count. I'm not sure. My math's not my best subject, EK0p.
Yeah. Well,
I was more of a social studies guy.
He can certainly proc the Ice Block. He can get him to 1. He can go through it. Very simply, you can do. There's 2 swipes. That's 8 plus the 6.
Yeah.
So that is 14.
How do you get it to 1? I was just saying, can you get him to 1?
Yeah. Well, you can spare like the Harvest Golem attack, get up to 3. and then you can use Claw plus the hero ability in the following turn. There's also the Argus, which adds 2 damage, but I think he's just going to try to proc. Oh,
he can use his
double
hero
Claw.
power.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. 5 and, well, 2, yeah.
2 is pretty good.
Yeah, and he also still has a swipe. So that's going to force an ice block from EK0p again.
There's 2 options here. Because he went second, because he has the coin, if he has, or we'll see in a second, if he draws into Alistraza, he'll be able to heal himself to 15. And, I mean, he just saw his opponent play a lot of cards there. So he does have the answer. He does have the ice block. But Monk did this because there's only 2 answers left in the deck, and at this point you only drew about half your deck. So if he got a little bit lucky, oh wow, this is a very greedy play.
Oh no! All right, well, I mean, he does know that both bites were used, so
yeah, but the game is over again.
Yeah, because in the end we have the swipe coming out.
Yep, that was a bit of a greedy play. He kind of played to win, I believe.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be greedy in this spot. But it definitely did not pay out. Monk had the correct cards.
So good job by Monk as he takes game number 2 in this best of 5 series, and EK0p has to go back to the drawing board and will have to play his last deck.
Well, Monk has to be extremely happy in this point. I mean,
Yeah.
he threw out the Druid out there just because it's whatever, and then the whatever deck is 2-0. So at this point, EK0p is in a real hole, and it'll be, really impressive if he digs himself out of this one.
Because Monk has 2 games to learn his deck really intimately if he wants to prepare for it, so doesn't even have to necessarily do everything on game number 3.
Well, we'll see. The other deck is going to be Druid. It's going to be Druid versus Druid.
He had amazing hand. Good luck. Yeah, drawing those 2 pyros instead of like.
I had to win the first game.
I think you got a good chance of throwing. You're up against the Druid.
Specialists,
I mean,
the top ladder players. He beat me 1 game with a mage like this. He was using Archmage, but he also had the Giants. But I beat him the next 2 games, so.
Did you adapt at all?
No, I still beat him.
Any comments on like mistakes or anything?
No, that was played flawlessly.
Good. Yeah.
Flawlessly.
Now we have 15 seconds left for EK0p to kind of talk about how his last deck will perform against Druid versus Druid. A little bit different in variety, but in the end, still kind of the same concept. And I felt like they built it as a way to combat mages as well, as we saw demonstrated here.
Yeah, in my opinion, he was the underdog against the Shaman. A small underdog, but nonetheless. On the mage, I'd say about even. But in this matchup, again, I'd have to favor EK0p just because he has higher card quality. And even though, Monk has a lot of early game, as we just saw in that last game, it's quite unlikely that 1, he'll get it again, and 2, that'll actually lead to a kill, as the opponent will have very big taunt creatures as the turns go by.
All right, so game number 2 is in the books. It's going to be Druid versus Druid for game number 3. EK0p, it's now or never. Let's find out in game number 3. So it looks like it's a really important match, not just for the overall series because you want to win, or EK0p wants to win for himself, but because his team was up 1-0, and if you go up 2-0, which is a really big lead, and evening it out, all of a sudden resets it to a best of 3.
Yep. Well, I think Monk's probably got this one. I'm talking about the set of matches. As far as the Druid versus Druid, as I mentioned, it favors EK0p just by a little bit. Openers are pretty similar there, and more novice engineers to be had for both parties here.
Yep, and we see pretty defensive setups just because they really can't do much, but we do have a few options because he does have Innervate. When I say he meant Monk, I have to kind of gather myself because it looks a little similar.
Yep. Well, both decks have a lot of the same cards, but the main differences are going to be there's a lot more spells in EK0p's deck, and he has the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, which we haven't seen drawn yet, but it's a card that if you don't deal with it immediately, you can run into a lot of problems.
Yeah, you just start rattling off and your card advantage becomes insane. Especially with some of the AoE that Druid has. It can provide really good tempo and card advantage.
Yep. The benefit of Monk's deck is largely the Ancient Watchers and the fact that it has a lot of early game control, which is in fact shared by EK0p as well, as far as the early game control, but the Ancient Watcher is not really that useful. It's kind of good for stopping the mid-game-ish creatures, but there's not really a lot of those in EK0p's deck. I don't really think they're that effective for stopping the huge ones, and those are really the ones that are going to swing the game. These spells and that kind of stuff, it's going to help, but we're going to see probably a pretty big brawl of giant creatures go at it.
Well, we see an immediate big power play from Monk as he drops the Innervate and Druid of the Claw combination and forces out a swipe this early on, which has to make Monk feel really good.
Well, swipe, it's good to bait that out, but it's better to healing touch one of those, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Because essentially you're trading swipe for healing touch. Yeah. That is a really good trade in a matchup that's control based, as life is not really that valuable of a resource.
What about putting Druid, Keeper of the Grove rather? I was saying Druid of the Grove.
Keeper of the Grove is good. The thing is, he doesn't know what deck exactly Ek0p is playing, and as I mentioned about those Ancient Watchers, how you make those really useful is by silencing them, because suddenly the 2 mana 4/5 can attack. So playing that card has its drawbacks in that you have 2 silences and you have 2 Ancient Watchers. You really got to pair them up to get good effect of your cards. So he does realize this, and he ends up wrathing for 1, cycling through his deck and taking it out for free instead.
Yep. He's going to go for the greedier route, I suppose.
It is a bit greedy because you have a pretty good use of Healing Touch, but at the same time, often to deal 2 damage, you're going to have to use at least 1 card. In this case, he actually drew Wrath, so he doesn't have to use the card. That's a pretty good draw.
Yeah, especially with Blood Mage style, knows he can draw and kill it off in 1 blow.
Well, he didn't need to do that. He could have just taken the 4 damage. And in my opinion, I mean, with 2 Healing Touches in your hand, that's really not a big deal. If you need the life, you can use it. Obviously, as I mentioned, it's better use of Healing Touch to heal off your creature as you counter the direct damage of your opponent.
And so now, Monk, he has 5 mana on the board, trying to wait to see what he can do. He has a Sylvanas.
Playing Sylvanas is a very aggressive move. He's considering it because if you look at his hand, a lot of the cards are just very situational. And Sylvanas, while it is pretty situational against a big creature, you know, you want to play it so you steal their stuff. But I don't know, if he claws the creature on board right now, he's left with 3 mana. With 3 mana, you're playing a Sunfury Protector on nothing, or you're innervating. But if you're innervating, you're essentially trading innervate for Blood Mage, which is not really a card because it draws a card and it dies. So.
Yeah, unless you wanted to silence it, but it's not really what he was looking for. So he's going to drop a Sunfury Protector. He has 2 anyways.
Yeah, you just throw something on the board so he has something to smack into creatures.
Cool. Now we have the Ek0p. See what he can do. 6 mana.
He just
Sunwalker.
drew the answer, I believe.
Sunwalker would be a fantastic drop. A card that's pretty underrated, in my opinion. It's got the good stats of 4 and 5. 5 is the money health, 4 the money attack, Divine Shield.
Sunwalker is really good when your opponent doesn't have a lot of stuff, because the Divine Shield gets really powerful when you have control over the board. His opponent has 1 creature, which actually turns out to be quite good. He may be thinking of the Ragnaros play here. That is what he does. So at this point, he's hoping that it hits the creature, and if it does. Wow,
nice roll there.
That is a very good roll. For your opponent to deal with Ragnaros, at 7 mana, he's gonna have to burn some stuff.
Yeah, can't even silence it because then you can just attack for 8 anyways.
Yeah, silencing doesn't really work. The Ancient of War isn't that bad because it does survive a hit from Ragnaros, and you can Healing Touch it and then attack into Ragnaros, and then Healing Touch it again. Which is not usually among the options of a regular play.
Yeah,
but he can do it
perfectly.
Yeah,
and I think that's what he's debating. Because honestly, what else can you really do? You can try eliminating it inefficiently with 3+ cards.
Yeah, I mean you could take care of it, but it's quite costly here.
Yeah. And I don't really, and I think getting a minion out's not the worst thing. Because then if it misses, and then you still have that 10 health to play with.
I actually don't believe there's any combination of cards to outright kill Ragnaros right now. And I think he's going through those options in his head and realizing that the Ancient of War, probably just putting something out there is the best thing you can do right now.
Yeah, because you need Starfall Claw and attack or Keeper of the Grove. So.
Yeah, he's 1 mana short of killing it right now.
That's unfortunate. And now Monk, he has to be feeling pretty good about himself.
Yeah, I mean, if you play Rag and it's alive the next turn, you are in a really good spot. And now he has the Silence. He can drop that extra 5 health off of the minion, as that is a battle cry. It's not something that's innate with the card.
He still also has a Sunfury Protector as well.
Right.
So that in combination can be pretty nasty.
He's thinking of giving Rag Taunt just to limit the options the opponent has, but I think to swing the game more heavily, he would give taunt to just the other creature.
Yep.
But, you know, he can't really expect his opponent to have Starfall and that kind of stuff that he actually does have in his hand.
And so he should be able to deal
swipe
with
draw
Rag.
is just excellent at this point.
Oh yeah. So Starfall plus the claw plus attack, but that's still
no. You're not attacking in the 8. Right now you're swipe and trading, or you're doing some kind of Starfall play. But I do believe the swipe is the best option.
He does have those healing touches to also help him up if things get too tight, but
he has a few interesting options because he can Keeper the Grove for 2 damage, so he can essentially equalize the board by swiping Ragnaros, attacking the Ragnaros, and the 1 damage from the swipe on the Sun Fury plus the 2 from the Keeper
should even out the board, just 2 Keepers of the Grove.
Exactly. So he has the card advantage, but he is down some life. It's not really a big deal because he has the healing touches, but we'll see. If healing touches are just going to be used on himself for life, he's actually exactly even.
Well, Monk does have some stuff ready because he did have Sylvanas for a while now, and also he has Ancient Lord to draw more cards if he so desires. In the end, it's still a slight lead for Monk, but I like how EK0p dug his way out of that position. Very nice job.
Yeah, you got to deal with Ragnaros. The fact that it was there 2 turns could have actually ended the game. I think if it did hit the 5/5 creature, I believe it would have ended the game.
Because there's no answer for him.
Well, there were answers, but those cost a lot of hit points. Yeah.
No desired.
Right now, he's seeing the Equalizer as an opportunity to regain the card advantage and playing by the Ancient of Lore, drawing 2 cards. He has answer in his hand. He can actually do crazy stuff like wrathing his own Sylvanas if he needs to. So I think he's in a pretty good spot right now. He has a lot of insurance against the heavy cards that his opponent could be playing.
Yeah, and Monk, I love Monk's position a lot. And again, remember, he's up 2-0, so if he wins this, he wins 250 for himself and 250 for the team, and equals up the score. And EK0p,
he's looking for the naturalized draw here, I believe. Yeah, I think
he can actually take out the Keeper of the Grove as well.
Yeah, at the same time, if he does, his opponent does kill it, so it's not something you really have to do.
I guess he just feels like it's just mana efficient. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I can do it, so why not?
He set up his opponent for a pretty good opportunity to swipe, but a Ragnaros draw is pretty much top tier at this point.
Yeah, and now you can use his claw to eliminate one of the possibilities, and this could be a big turning point in the match.
If it hits the 5/5,
it
may
the
be over.
5/5.
Nope.
Oh man, no, it doesn't hit.
Yep. That Ragnaros is going to be on discount.
50% off.
Oh, more than that. That's going to be 1 Wrath.
Yeah, 1 Wrath plus the Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, but the Ancient of Lore draws 2 cards,
yeah.
So he essentially...
And does 5 damage.
Yeah, essentially got a pretty much a freebie there. That's as good as you can get for killing a Rag as a Druid.
Yeah, with no real true hard removal, and so EK0p has to be a little bit disappointed with that. And now the board's been cleared, so Monk can even drop the Druid of the Claw.
Yep, Druid of the Claw is the best play here. You don't want to Sylvanas. You don't want to give your opponent the opportunity to bypass the battle cry of such a powerful card. The Druid of the Claw evades a lot of direct damage. He evades a Starfall. He'd have to attack himself, and
I didn't know that. I didn't notice that EK0p runs Wild Growth as well. It's another part of his ramp.
Yeah, I think it's why he runs so many big cards. He does so because he feels he can ramp into them by using the Wild Growths.
One thing that's kind of cute is if you have 10 mana and you use Wild Growth with Gadget Auctioneer, you get 2 cards because you get a free mana card.
That's true.
So maybe in that combination. Now look at that, double Druid of the Claw.
Yep, he is in a pretty good spot because he can swipe 1, finish it off for 2 damage, attack into it, and attack with the Hero, which is 10 mana. He can clear the board while still having 2 creatures left. The one that he has right now, which would be a 4/2, and the Keeper, which he plays. So that looks to be like the play that he's making. Bit of a complicated one, but an experienced Druid player will see this kind of stuff immediately.
Yeah, really well done again by Monk, and I guess the Claw party's over.
Yep.
Crashed by Keeper of the Grove. Centaurs don't know how to have fun, man.
Well, that's a very fun card.
And now, what can you really do if you're in Ek0p's position? It's still kind of difficult. He can use a wild growth to draw.
Well, he's in a pretty bad spot, but he's got the health from the healing touch. And he's got some cards that are not easy to deal with. Oh, man. Might as well keep going.
Right, and
it's not like you're playing anything.
He's wasting his mana, though, this turn, but better than nothing. Essentially thinning his deck. I'm actually kind of curious how many cards are left in each deck, because they've been drawing a lot.
Yeah, he really needs his other Ancient of War, or he really needs his Ysera. And because he had to waste 4 mana, he's not playing either this turn.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and there's Ysera. How about that?
So you can use Starfall, eliminate
2 to all.
the Druid
and the Claw.
And finish it off.
Yep.
And now it's 3 cards versus 3 cards.
He is not in a bad spot.
Wow.
And it's a pretty strange scenario because Ysera can draw you so many cards, and it's unlikely your opponent can deal 12 damage to it directly in one turn. He can continuously heal it with the healing touches. So this is actually far from over.
But he also saw Naturalize before, right?
Yes, he did. But if he does use the Naturalize on Ysera, he's again not in that bad of a spot.
All right. Well, so now that we've seen the Sylvanas and Harvest Golem dropped, can Ek0p start the rally train? As he does have the option.
He has to play Ysera here. I'm pretty sure he knows that.
There's no other option, really.
Well, if you play anything else, you're essentially getting more behind in the game. Right now, Monk does not have a Wrath. I haven't been counting. I know he's used at least one. You think he's used 2?
I think so.
Okay. Well, if he has used 2, then he's pretty safe. But if he does have a Wrath, he can attack Ysera with a Sylvanas, then Wrath it for 1. Wrath pays for itself by drawing a card, and you steal the Sylvanas, which is a really bad play, bad spot for Ek0p. But if he knows that he has used 2, if that is in fact the case, he doesn't have much to worry about.
Oh, we get Dream, one of the it's one of the weaker versions of the Dream cards.
Considering what's going to be played this turn, it's going to be quite strong.
Yeah, wow, that's really nice.
It's going to waste his entire turn for 0 mana.
Yeah, I mean, in most cases, I really like some of the other cards like Ysera Awakens and some of the really sick Emerald cards, but in this position, yeah, Dream has its pretty good utility.
There is another play here too, but I don't know if he'll be made. Yeah, it looks like he's going for face. Going for face looks like a really good idea from where Monk is standing, but
the healing touches.
Right, the healing touches essentially have Monk at higher life. Have Ek0p at higher life than
yeah. And if he can return it to his hand, heal up, put some more minions on the board.
Well, Sylvanas is a real pain in the ass to deal with right now.
Yeah.
But if he gets a few more aggressive cards, he might be able to pull this off just by healing himself. I think if he gets Ysera Awakens, he's not going to be in that terrible of a spot, in fact.
And it's going to be really nice to just have that complete board wipe. And now with healing, he goes up to 14 health.
Yep.
And Harvest Golem. Very nicely done once again by Ek0p.
I think Ek0p may decide to go all in here. Oh, he's choosing to attack the Golem, which is actually the correct play, because going all in would pretty much result in the opponent using the healing touch. But I don't think he's seen the healing touch in any of the games so far.
No.
So he doesn't know that the opponent has that.
Monk's flirted with the idea of healing up his minions before, but no real need to.
Yep.
Now it's a death rattle party.
Yeah, he can get rid of both sides of the Harvest Golem there.
It's all these cards have some kind of effect, which is upon death, and now you're calculating all the possibilities. In the end, I think he's debating whether or not to. Oh, is he gonna go for the Sylvanas? Oh, he's gonna risk it.
Oh, 1 out of 3.
Here we go, the big moment. Is
he
gonna
loses
take the
this,
Ysera?
it's done.
Oh, he takes the Harvest Golem.
Not bad.
That's the second best option.
Oh.
But now a Dream card comes in, and the Ysera Awakens. Wow, a game-changing card.
That is a game-changing card.
Whoa.
Oh, he draws the Naturalize though. He does have the kill with the Claw, so he doesn't need to Naturalize it. And I would probably not Naturalize if I could help it.
See, he's got 5, 7.
Yeah, he does have a lot of damage, is the flip side.
Yeah.
He sees the opponent at 10, he sees the opponent use the healing touch. Most people don't run 2 healing touches, so he can see this opportunity to get really aggressive, and he may actually pay the price for that.
It's funny you say that because we do see 2 from Ek0p and only 1 healing touch in the deck for Monk.
Yep.
So now Monk's kind of has to make some risky calculations.
Well, it's on what he assumes is in the deck at this point. It's,
very tense moment.
Yeah.
So, wow, he's thinking about going for the Klon. I mean, still he's seen Ragnaros. Both Ragnaros came out, yeah?
Both sides played Rag. And Ysera is dropped, and he killed a Sunwalker. I mean, if he deals with Ysera and Monk
That's
is
pretty
even,
much the last
that would put him essentially in the lead of the game overall.
There's only really the highest drop he has is an Auctioneer.
Yeah. So Monk is not in like the best of spots right now, just because his opponent has the Awaken. But you know what? It's not bad. If Ek0p draws like a Silence or something like that, or maybe just direct 5, he's gonna be fine, I think.
Ooh.
That is about the worst card you can draw.
Because
that is pure worthlessness.
Yeah. Well, he does have a Loot Hoarder for a second chance. All right. I mean, you can draw with the Innervate. So Innervate now becomes useful. Yep. And he gives him a second option, and he could play all the cards in his hand this turn if he wants to. Uses Ysera Awakens before the playing with fire.
That seems a little crazy to me.
Yeah,
I think I would play the Gadgetzin, Innervate, and heal myself if the next card is not a spell. And then maybe consider Awakening, I don't know.
Ek0p, this one's gonna sting if he chooses to drop it. He's debating it.
Yeah.
He's picked it up 4 times now and dropped it.
It's actually a very interesting play.
Wow.
Because he would be betting on the cards that he would be drawing to finish off that creature.
Yeah, so he does damage to everybody on the board. Because Ysera's already down, and now he's going to drop the Auctioneer, Innervate, and potentially swing, and he always has the Healing Touch if he needs to.
Oh.
And so he's going to draw first.
He needs to play Healing Touch no matter what, right?
Now, does he Innervate?
Yeah.
I guess so. There's no point using it otherwise.
Right, I mean, that creature's... Oh my!
Oh!
The perfect card.
Wow, draws Wrath, and he's eliminated the Ancient of War, and he draws another Innervate. Wow, this is what you're talking about, but he also has to kind of be careful.
He doesn't want to use that, because he has 3 cards left in his deck, I believe. Oh, apparently he does want to use it.
He's got to use it sometime, right?
Keeper of the Grove is not bad.
Wow, so he's got some great utility cards remaining, and we have ourselves a big Game 3 moment once again.
Well, the thing is, his opponent has Naturalize, and if he naturalizes a card here, he draws 2.
But he starts taking damage.
That's pretty much it. Like, that's the rest of the deck.
And there's no other options that he has.
Right.
Unless... So what does Monk have? He has an Ancient of Lore left, I believe, as well. So he does have some pretty big minions.
Yeah, I believe Monk has quite a few cards left in his deck. I believe it's at least like... Oh, he does do the Naturalize. It essentially only draw 1 card because the 2 cards left in the deck, and you draw 1 for your turn anyway. Oh! That last one.
Oh,
Forgot
wow,
about
an
that.
Ancient of War. I thought we've been seeing kind of the same cards, so we kind of lose track of who has what. But now we have a big draw, and so with 4 cards left,
that Ancient of War is being played. Seems they were delayed a little bit there, but Monk is actually in a pretty bad spot.
Wow. So he can drop the Ancient of War and the Harvest Golem, but every turn he also doesn't he eventually want to start armoring up as much as he can too?
The thing is, he's not drawing cards, and his opponent is drawing cards. So if he plays it slow, you give your you give your opponent the opportunity to just cycle through.
It's coming down to the wire.
Well, now he can deal with it with swipe, but the problem is he loses his board and he drops his hero power. So swiping the opponent, may be an option considering you have Healing Touch here.
And just kind of holding out, but then he still doesn't know what his opponent's holding. These cards, and we know it's Keeper of the Grove and Harvest Golems, 2 pretty durable cards.
It's going to be pretty hard to get through that 5-10 wall, I think.
This is still okay. So he's going to go for the safer play.
This
is getting down.
It's difficult to understand what's safe right now.
Yeah, I guess that's a great assessment of the situation. Monk's going to heal up, but he's out of cards. But speaking of out of cards.
He's actually out of cards.
Yeah, there's opponent is out of cards. Ek0p is drawing 2 damage and soon to be 3.
Yeah, once the 3 cards that he has are dead, he essentially cannot win the game without the hero ability or some fatigue, action going on. So right now he's just trying to race.
All right, 14-9. The top deck from Monk is an Ancient of War. Are you kidding me? This is a big draw once again.
Yeah, the problem is Sylvanas runs into it.
And then he takes the Ancient of War.
So this may be one of those options to play it as a 5-10.
Or 10-5, you mean?
Yeah, 10-5, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I know exactly. exactly what you mean. It's kind of crazy because
I mean,
3 turns means Monk wins.
It looks so stupid to play it this way.
Right.
But it's just because the opponent has no cards left. Like he trades with Sylvanas, but then there's no card he's playing after Sylvanas.
Over the next 3 turns, he takes 12 damage, and so even if he armors up, he loses. I'm talking about Ek0p here. And so Monk can try to stall for 3 turns, and he's going to do it. Oh no, he's going to try to speed up the process, but he's not going to get away with it.
No,
3 damage.
he can't play it as a 5/10 because Sylvanas runs into it and he takes it. So this is the correct play.
Right.
It just looks kind of funny.
Because you don't really see a Nation of War.
So EK0p has to deal with this. So he has to suicide Sylvanas.
Right.
And he's at the point where he's just hoping Monk just draws complete air.
Unless Monk draws something that gives him more draws.
I'm actually not sure what his fatigue is at.
It's at 3, so he has 2 more turns left.
Oh, that means he can't win then.
Well, he draws an Ancient Watcher. Oh wait, does he have 2 Ancient Watchers?
It's good enough. You can't win. He cannot kill the opponent because he only has 10. He does 5 damage a turn.
Oh, you're right.
And he
can armor up.
So Monk cannot lose right now.
Unless something crazy happens, but
if he disconnects, I guess.
If he disconnects, if he accidentally concedes, but there's 1 health left, he's just gonna have to go for the face, and I think that's gonna be it. It's kind of humorous. I think Monk's gonna draw his 2 remaining Ancient Watchers, which hasn't really seen play.
He goes down in true fashion there.
Cool. So Monk's gonna win 3-0 over Ek0p. A heated game number 3, very down to the wire.
Pretty crazy match.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah. I think Monk got, he didn't need to get really lucky, but he got a little bit lucky in the right spots. Like he was able to get a discounted Ragnaros, and his opponent had to waste a lot more.
Did a really good one.
Right. And that really made up for the fact that EK0p's deck was a little slower. Just the way that the cards, just the pieces of the puzzle just fit a little bit better for Monk. And in the end, that's what did it.
It's really good for his team as well, as they tied up 1-1. He's won 250 for himself and 250 for his team. And I'm sure all of his boys at Team Liquid are really proud.
The monies.
Yeah, the monies. The monies, the fames, the glories. Do you have any final thoughts on what we've been watching?
It's pretty cool that both matches ended 3-0, but it's something that you tend to expect in these matchups. The first match is very decisive. That's what we experienced at BlizzCon. I think every time one player won the first game, they won the set.
Right, and it kind of keeps snowballing.
Yeah. It's because usually the main strategy comes from pairing up the decks, and EK0p actually had that strategy above Monk as it played out. But he got a little bit unlucky, and he kind of lost the edge matchup. So when you lose the match that you're favored to win, stuff goes wrong really fast.
Yeah, because in your decks were prepared to fight something else, and you just feel like you're under tool.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Monk does win an important match for his team, and now it's 1-1. We'll have some words with the winner and the loser right after this. You're watching ESGN TV Fight Night. I'm joined at the desk with Ek0p, who just dropped the series 0-3 to Monk. Can you talk to me about some of those games, Jan, and tell me something about your thought process?
Well, I started off with Shaman. We thought going into the matchup, we knew the classes that the opponent was playing. So Shaman, in theory, had a good matchup against either Druid or Paladin. That's from what we were guessing, and not so much against Mage. So this is the reason we picked Shaman, and also we thought he wouldn't open with Mage, which we predicted correctly. So yeah, Shaman was supposed to win.
Yeah, well, I mean, we even said it on paper. It favored the Shaman image, Shaman versus Druid matchup.
Yeah, and then didn't draw any Hex until super late, and I don't know. Went for the flashy play with the Alakir double rock fighter.
Yeah. They would have been dropping 18 damage in one.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of unexpected, maybe. So, I mean, I certainly predicted that they wouldn't expect Alakir. Second game, I went with Mage. Like, I didn't feel confident at that point because Shaman was supposed to beat that Druid, and Druid is usually designed to beat Mage. Yeah, in the end, it didn't work out. I kept Antonite as my opening hand, and then once again, bad luck drawing double Pyroblast, Fireball, completely useless in the early game. Am I right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Welcome, my cousin, to the desk, Kevin. Everyone says we look kind of slick. I think it's the glasses.
I think it's because we're both Asian.
I think it's the spiked hair.
Yeah.
It's the stunning good looks.
Yeah,
and
obviously.
the great Hearthstone play.
Yes. I'm sure we share that.
Yeah. Well, people don't know, but Monk taught me a lot about Hearthstone, so I'm really grateful for that. Talk to me about some of the games, man. What was it like being there on the big stage? Were you nervous at all?
Oh yeah, very nervous, and you know, especially because it's a team event. We were down one match, and if I lost, it would have been pretty terrible pretty hard to come back for the team. And I think because I won, like the team morale was boosted quite heavily.
Yeah, and you won decisively 3-0, but the series, there were moments where it felt pretty tense, especially game number 3. Talk to me about some of the hardest moments in the series against Ek0p.
Game 1, I was deciding whether to play Ancient of War, because if he had Hex, I would have been really far behind, but fortunately he didn't have it. The pressure went off when I realized he didn't Hex right away, so he's actually, if he had it, he definitely would have played it right away, so I was like, everything's fine. Game 2 I thought was pretty easy. There wasn't really much to talk about there. Game 3 I was really nervous because I thought I made a huge mistake, and which I did. I should have used the Sun Fury Protector to taunt my Keeper of the Grove instead of the Ragnaros, and if I did that, he wouldn't have been able to kill the Ragnaros the following turn, and I think I would have won right there.
Cool, man, that's cool. Now you've won $250 for yourself and for the team. Is this the first time you've ever won money competing? Because again, you're usually a writer or a guy that's doing interviews.
Yeah, I actually did play StarCraft a while back. I wouldn't say professionally, but like somewhat competitively. And I won some money here and there, but it was more like $5, $10, $20, something like that.
But now it's bigger.
Now, yeah, much bigger.
What's it like, balling out in money?
It's very fun. Money's great.
Don't spend it all here, okay?
All right, I promise I won't.
Berlin's a lot more expensive than New Jersey.
Yes, that's true. If you don't
Take
know,
my word for it.
Yeah,
please.
we're both from New Jersey, from nearby high school, so we know each other pretty well.
Well, I'm really glad that a hometown guy was able to take the win. Congratulations on your win, Monk.
Thank you.
Good luck for the rest of your series.